Good evening, my Real News Midday TV family. Welcome back to the channel for another news update. And in the news this evening, alleged top shooter in Kingston gang captured by police. St. Andrew South police say they have successfully apprehended one of the division's most wanted men, alleged gangster Dean Sutherland. The 28-year-old, otherwise called Bertie, of 19 Seaward Drive, Kingston 20, was captured at an apartment complex located on South Avenue in St. Andrew during a targeted operation on Tuesday. Bertie was a very active shooter for the 440 Drive gang that is at odds with the Samokan gang. His activities impacted several divisions to include St. Andrew South and St. Thomas. His capture is a major blow to the 440 Drive gang led by Mark Harrison, otherwise called Mark II. A statement from the Jamaica Constabulary Force on Wednesday said. Head of the St. Andrew South Police Division, Damian Manderson, described Sutherland as a high-ranking member of the gang. On Tuesday, February 4, 2025, about 3 p.m., a team of police officers arrived at the complex where Sutherland was observed in the company of 6 other men and 1 female. Upon detecting the police presence, Sutherland attempted to evade a capture by jumping from the balcony of the apartment. However, after a brief pursuit, he was successfully apprehended at a business complex along South Avenue. Sutherland is considered a person of interest in connection with serious crimes, including the murder of Ricardo Anderson, otherwise called Ricardo, on January 7, 2025 at 21 Seaward Drive, Kingston 20, a wounding with intent with the use of a firearm case involving Krishna Maiku, otherwise called Barba, on January 9, and a case involving the discovery of illegal ammunition among Sutherland's identification documents. The police have since described Sutherland's arrest as a significant breakthrough in the police's ongoing efforts to dismantle criminal networks in St. Andrew South. They are now calling on victims and witnesses of crimes committed by Sutherland to come forward. Man fined $30,000 for indecent language, disorderly conduct, and resisting arrest. A man was on Tuesday fined $30,000 in the Kingston and the St. Andrew Parish Court after he pleaded guilty to charges of using indecent language, disorderly conduct, and resisting arrest following an altercation with the police. According to allegations, Lloyd Deans, the owner of a dark green Nissan, was asked by an officer to provide his license and registration, to which he responded, "What you want me documents for?" It is further alleged that Deans resisted arrest by tearing off the officer's identification card while using expletives. In his defense, Deans told the court that he was not driving at the time the officer requested his documents. Senior Parish Judge Sancho Borrell then questioned how long he had been driving, to which he answered, "A long time." "Did you know that the police can ask you to provide documents at any time?" Judge Borrell asked. Regarding the charge of using indecent language, Deans initially denied the allegations. However, it was later revealed that he smelled of alcohol, though the investigating officer was unable to administer a breathalyzer test. When it was time to enter his plea, Deans gave lengthy explanations for each charge, prompting an irritated Judge Borrell to interrupt, demanding guilty or not guilty. He ultimately pleaded guilty to all charges except for assaulting a constable. "You seem difficult," Borrell remarked. Deans was sentenced to pay a fine of $10,000 for each charge or spend 10 days in jail. The case was transferred to the Lee Magistrates Court for further proceedings, with a trial date set for March 6. Man who robbed a patron at gunpoint at nightclub in Yorkton charged. The man who robbed a patron at a nightclub in Yorkton, St. Catherine, at a gunpoint on Sunday night has been charged by the police. TJ Powell, 23, of Waterloo District in Yorkton, is charged with robbery with aggravation, unlawful wounding, malicious destruction of property, possession of a prohibited weapon, unauthorized possession of ammunition, and using a firearm to commit a felony. His court date is being finalized. Reports are that about 11:45 p.m. on Sunday, February 2, Powell entered the nightclub, held the patron at gunpoint, and robbed him of $17,000. When the victim resisted, the gun-toting thief allegedly assaulted him, tearing his shirt and striking him with a firearm, according to the police. Swift action by the police led to Powell's apprehension at the scene. A search of his person revealed a Beretta pistol along with a magazine containing 7 rounds of ammunition. He was arrested and the firearm was seized. Following further investigations, he was charged. Policeman succumbs to injuries from motorcycle crash in St. James. A policeman who was seriously injured when his motorcycle collided with a taxi along the Unity Hall Main Road in St. James this morning died this afternoon while undergoing treatment at the Cornwall Regional Hospital in Montego Bay. The identity of the policeman, who was stationed at the Sandy Bay Police Station in Hanover, is being withheld at this time. Superintendent Andrew Nish, the commander for Hanover, said the police personnel in the division, as well as residents, are now in mourning as the deceased policeman was well loved and respected. He said efforts are now being made to contact the man's mother and sister, who are both overseas. The matter is being investigated by the St. James Police, but efforts to get a preliminary account of their investigations proved futile. The crash reportedly occurred shortly after 8 a.m. Lawyer facing fraud charges for real estate scam. Fraud squad detectives have laid charges against an attorney-at-law accused of major fraud. Mark Morgan was arrested and charged on Monday following a 2-year investigation into a multi-million-dollar real estate scam. Investigators say sometime in 2021, the attorney allegedly sold 2 pieces of property in Ironshore, St. James for $17.5 million. It's alleged that after collecting the money from the buyer, he submitted forged documents to the titles office to effect the transfer of the properties. But the titles office detected the fraud and called the police. The investigation determined that the attorney was never hired by the owner to sell his properties. Additionally, the owner had no knowledge of the attorney. The fraud squad also reported that the purchaser has not been refunded his $17.5 million by the attorney. Mr. Morgan was subsequently charged with the offenses of forgery, conspiracy to defraud, engaging in a transaction involving criminal property, and demanding property on forged documents. He was offered station bail in the sum of $400,000 to appear before the St. Andrew Parish Court on March 4. Interministerial committee set up to devise plan to deal with U.S. mass deportations. The government has established an interministerial committee of cabinet to examine the implications for Jamaica of the Trump administration's deportation exercise. Speaking at Wednesday's post-cabinet press briefing, Information Minister Dr. Dana Morris-Dixon said the committee will formulate a plan to address the issue. The committee consists of the Ministries of Local Government, Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade, Labor and Social Security, as well as the Ministry of Education.
I have one minister right beside me, the Minister of Local Government. Obviously, the Minister of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade would be very intimately a part of this. The Minister of Labor and Social Security would be a part of it. The Ministry of Education would also likewise, especially on the skills element of it, also be a part of that committee that would be empowered to look at how we treat with all of the elements. As government, we believe that there are some opportunities. Some individuals are coming back with good skills that we would want to integrate. Some we may need to do additional skills training for them. We may need to be looking at housing support or other support. And so we have a committee that has been empowered by Cabinet to meet and to work through these details. So we have to recognize the sovereignty and the sovereign right of every country to make their decisions that suit them. And we respect the sovereign right of any other country that we interact with. The Prime Minister has consistently spoken about economic resilience and us not being dependent on anyone. And that is important. because as a independent country, we need to be able to stand on our own 2 feet. And very importantly, it's important that Jamaicans remember that there's nobody coming to our rescue. We have to be independent, and our Prime Minister has been saying this. And if you look at our economic policies, it has all been linked to that.
Thank you everyone for watching. See you tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. for another news update.